slavery, or treatment. Once slaves were bought from the auction block, they were brainwashed by their owners. The owners would give slaves a surname. The surname was the surname of the owner. So if a slave was named Smith, then Smith would be the surname of the owner. A slave has got no name. My father was a ransom, and he had an uncle named Franklin. Consequently, you go by the name of your owner. Slaves didn't resist to this treatment yet at that time, but they knew it was unfair being treated just because of their difference. Slaves were also brainwashed by being taught from their masters that slaves' interests will be served if they obey the master. They were also forced to practice Christianity. This is the way it go. Be nice to Master and Missus. Don't be mean. Be obedient and work hard. That was all the Sunday school lesson they taught us. This picture of this praying slave is a very famous one, where the slave is saying, "Am I not a man and a brother?" Slaves finally resisted the treatment. They first used violence, like burning barns and killing the families of the masters and the master himself. Turned out to face backwards consequences. Nat Turner, a former slave, led a rebellion of slaves to resist their treatment. Eventually, Nat Turner was hanged a few days later. Slaves also resisted their treatment by expressing their feelings by singing and religion. Spirituals were based on traditional African music. Slaves kept interacting with other slaves, creating a social life. Parents would pass on traditional tales or folk tales to their kids. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Then why not every man? It was a very dark period of time, but especially for the slaves. Slaves subsequently used the method of tricking and stealing, which wasn't very effective, since the masters are smart enough to know. The consequences were obvious. They would get whipped, or probably sold to another slave owner. Drivers who would whip slaves who can whip other slaves would be on the master's side when they whip the slaves, yet secretly they can be on the slave's side, helping them by giving them information about the master. The drivers can be bad people, but most of them believed in freedom, though freedom to them was no hope for them at that time. Eventually, with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil War, slavery eventually ended. Civil War continued for only 4 years. As the Civil War was over, slavery in the U.S. was over. But, of course, slavery still exists today. We Americans should all know that even if we come from different races or we have different skin colors, that we should not treat them unnaturally. We should not treat them like animals.
The music is like kind of loud.